Are you ready to untangle from your past, recover from heartbreak, and revive your life? This is Soul CPR with your host, Ann Papayoti. We've all had soul-crushing experiences and lost ourselves in our pain, but there is a way out. On this podcast, Amazon best-selling author, award-winning life coach, and advice columnist Ann Papayoti helps us navigate the path from heartbreak to healing. So now, please welcome the host of Soul CPR, Ann Papayoti.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today on Soul CPR, where we try to breathe life back into hearts that need healing. And today's episode is for anyone feeling the sting of being single on Valentine's Day. If this day feels like an arrow through your heart, you're not alone, but we're going to try to shift that for you today. You know, for some, Valentine's Day is a celebration, and for others, it's a painful reminder of what's missing. But what if I told you that love, real, lasting love, was never about a relationship status? In this episode of Soul CPR, we're unraveling the myths about love and worthiness and exploring the surprising history of this holiday and giving you powerful ways to reclaim this day for yourself. So whether you're single, healing, or just feeling disconnected, this episode is your invitation to redefine love on your own terms. Now, last night, my support group participants and I talked about struggling with Valentine's Day while single. Some are struggling and some are more kind of numb to it, depending on where they're at in their journeys and what the holiday meant to them in their relationships. And I can tell you that I remember that when I was single, I remember a time when I dreaded Valentine's Day, seeing couples and the pressure of it all, feeling like I was missing something. But I also remember in my first marriage, never being able to find the right card to express my feelings. You know, saying things like, I wish you spoke to me with kindness, or I wish your actions toward me made me feel loved rather than scared and alone. And I remember feeling like Valentine's Day became more about checking the boxes of what you're supposed to do, like going to dinner. And like he usually gave me roses and chocolates, but how confusing is that when most every other day I was made to feel less than, you know, maybe humiliated and maybe like, or oftentimes like I was prudish for telling him how it hurt me to see him openly flirt and be interested in other women. But over the years, as I let go of people and really took hold of myself, I realized something powerful. Love isn't confusing or really missing in my life. Sometimes we just have to take the time to redefine it clearly, crystal clearly. So we're not just here today to make the best of it when it comes to Valentine's. We're here to claim this day as our own, to see love in a different light, and to nurture the most important relationship of all, the one with ourselves. So why does this day hurt so much? So when you think about it, let's go back to childhood. Weren't we kind of taught that love for adults kind of looks like flowers and chocolates and candlelit dinners when it comes to Valentine's Day? But what if that really was a limited version, if we were sold some sort of limited version of love? Now, speaking of childhood, do you remember uh, those little cards and little box of cards and carefully choosing which message went to which person in your class so as not to imply the wrong thing? or sometimes not wanting to give one at all to someone in particular, but it was maybe required by your teacher to bring one for everyone. Now, I did love writing them and reading them, though, but I remember struggling sometimes with what to say or what should be said. And in this day and age, perhaps, of social media, of course, Instagram, Facebook, those platforms don't always show the full story, do they? Behind every perfect couple post could be struggles, boredom, or even heartbreak. So, what you see isn't the whole truth. Don't get stuck in comparing your life. Comparison is literally the thief of joy. Now, last night we also talked about past relationship triggers, of course, and because this day can definitely bring up memories of relationships that ended, of betrayals, and of loneliness. Now, a lovely woman in my support group last night said that Valentine's Day was her and her ex's first date. So, of course, the calendar date is a trigger. And the first anniversary of any significant marker in a lost relationship is going to hurt the most. But eventually, instead of seeing it as a reminder of loss, we can choose to start seeing it as maybe a marker in our growth. You'll get there, I promise. Just give it time. There's a truth I want to bring up about love and worthiness that tends to come up when we're talking about Valentine's Day and being single, especially if the loss of a relationship is recent. Love is not proof of worthiness. Being single does not mean you're unlovable. You are whole, whether in a relationship or not. Now, you may not feel that right now, but maybe by the end of the show you will. Now, when you think back to childhood, do you ever feel like you've been sold a lie? From childhood, we are conditioned to believe that love, especially romantic love, is the ultimate validation of our worth, perhaps through fairy tales or movies or even well-meaning family members. This idea is reinforced that we complete each other, that love is something perhaps that must be earned, and that being single means we're missing something. But here's the truth. Your worth is not determined by your relationship status. Write that down. Your worth is not determined by your relationship status. You are not incomplete. You were born whole. You do not need another person to complete you, Jerry Maguire. Relationships can complement your life, but they are not the source of your worthiness. Now, many of us subconsciously believe that love must be earned, but love is not a reward for being good enough. I often hear people say things like, if I were prettier, I'd be loved. If I were more successful, someone would want me. If I weren't so difficult, I wouldn't be alone. Can we just stop that madness? Love is not a prize you win for being perfect. It's an experience, it's a connection, and it's something that we give and we receive in many forms, with and from many people. You are no less worthy of love simply because you are not in a romantic relationship today. So let's flip that script, shall we? Instead of looking outward for validation, let's start inward, because the love that matters most starts within. I want you to ask yourself a few questions if you're listening to this show today and you have felt heartbreak, or you feel lonely, or you feel that something's missing because you're not in a romantic relationship and Valentine's Day is approaching and you feel this pressure about that. Ask yourself this: do I treat myself with the same love that I expect from a partner? That's a pretty big question. Do I offer myself the same kindness and patience and respect that I give to others? What beliefs do I have about love and worthiness that I need to rewrite? Another topic that came up in support group last night was the term choose you. And one of the women said, what does that really mean? And the way I define when it says choose you is to say that you consider yourself first in every question and option that comes in front of you. You consider yourself first. How will this impact me? How does this affect me? So, for example, in this particular person's situation, she's facing divorce, but for now, they're having family pizza movie night to put up a facade for their 16-year-old child. And she hates it. She loathes it. It's uncomfortable for her to do this. So, what would choose you look like for her in that situation? Does she keep putting up the front to please someone else, to protect someone else's feelings? Or does she honor herself, take responsibility for herself, and in so doing, be responsible to others to communicate her truth that this is hurting her, that it's not good for her, and then allow them to process their own feelings about it? That's the example I would share with you. But do ask yourself these questions. Do I treat myself with the same love I expect from a partner? Do I offer myself the same kindness and patience and respect that I give to others? And what beliefs do I have about love and worthiness that I need to rewrite? Instead of saying, why am I alone this Valentine's? Try, how can I love myself more deeply on this day? How does that sound? Recognize that love is already in your life, if you will. It's just romantic love, which is only one form of love. So think about, how does love already exist in your life? Maybe it's the way your friend checks in on you. I woke up this morning to a text from a friend wishing me well on my retreat that I leave for tomorrow. Maybe it's the way your pet greets you with excitement. And if you don't have a pet, I highly recommend you get one or three. Come on, they really help you feel loved. Maybe it's simply noticing things like the way the sun rises each morning, and think of it as for you, offering you a new beginning, no matter what the day before held. Maybe it's recognizing the way you've survived, healed, continued to grow. I mean, what else would you add to that list? I felt loved this morning when I went to Starbucks. My barista gave me my coffee complimentary, and it wasn't even the free coffee day after Super Bowl. It was a lovely day. I felt loved. How have you felt loved? Pay attention to your life and notice it. Write it down, remind yourself. So if you could define love on your own terms, what would it look like? And what if love was more about connection and kindness and the way you nurture your own soul, rather than something someone else has to give you, or romantic love? You don't have to wait for someone to love you to feel loved. Be your own source of love, starting right now. And let's redefine Valentine's Day. It's time for our first break. And when we come back, we're going to continue reframing that narrative. And we're also going to visit the history of Valentine's Day. So don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ann Papayotti, and this is Soul CPR on Bold Brave TV. Now, before the break, I challenged listeners on their beliefs to reframe their mindset and basically to recognize that love is already present in their lives, whether romantic love is or not. So would you now at least agree that love is more than romance? Love exists in friendships and in family and in our passions and in the way we show up for ourselves. So Valentine's Day can be a celebration of love in all its forms. So before we go further, let's take a look at the history of Valentine's Day, a historical perspective, if you will. Did you know that Valentine's Day wasn't always about romance? Well, according to various resources on the web, before it became associated with romance, Valentine's Day had ties to an ancient Roman festival called Lupercalia, celebrated from February 13th to 15th. And this was a fertility festival honoring Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, and Lupa, the she-wolf who, according to legend, raised Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome. Now, during Lupercalia, men would sacrifice a goat and use its hide to symbolically bless women for fertility and good fortune. Now, here's where it really gets interesting. There was also a matchmaking lottery where young men and women would be paired together for the festival, sometimes leading to marriage. So, the original Valentine celebrations, what I'm kind of taking from it, were more about fertility, luck, and perhaps hooking up than romantic love as we know it today. Then the holiday began to take on a new meaning around the 3rd century AD during the reign of Roman Emperor Claudius II. Now, this Emperor Claudius reportedly banned marriages for young men because he believed that single men made better soldiers. And then a Christian priest named Valentine defied this order and secretly performed marriages for soldiers in love. Now, I'll give you that. That sounds romantic, right? That when Claudius discovered Valentine's defiance, he sentenced the priest to execution, reportedly on February 14th, sometime around 269 AD. And according to legend, before his death, Valentine wrote a farewell letter to a woman that he cared for, signing it "From your Valentine." And then later, the Catholic Church canonized Valentine as a saint and declared February 14th as St. Valentine's Day to honor his memory. So, Valentine's Day became associated with love because of a man who fought for the right of others to love and marry, even when it was forbidden. Call that romantic, if you will. But it wasn't until the Middle Ages that romantic love really took a turn. By the 14th century, the idea of courtly love, sort of idealized romance between noblemen and their beloved, became very popular in Europe. And the poet Geoffrey Chaucer was one of the first to link Valentine's Day to romantic love in his 1382 poem, Parliament of Fowls, where he wrote, "For this was on St. Valentine's Day, when every bird cometh there to choose his mate." Now, by the 15th and 16th centuries, people in England and France exchanged love letters on February 14th, believing it to be the day birds began to mate. By the 18th century, handwritten notes and small gifts became common. So Valentine's Day shifted from a religious holiday to a day of romance because poets and writers romanticized it, right? Now, the modern era, a commercial holiday, right? So by the 19th century, mass-produced Valentine's Day cards became popular. Hallmark launched its first Valentine's cards in 1913, turning the holiday into a major commercial event. Today, it is an estimated $25 billion industry, driven by marketing, social media, and societal expectations. So while Valentine's Day is now a celebration of couples, its origins are far more diverse, aren't they? Involving these ancient festivals and acts of defiance and centuries of evolving traditions. Why is that important to what we're talking about today? I say it's because you too can evolve the tradition that exists for you in Valentine's Day. So instead of seeing Valentine's Day as a test of your romantic status, let's redefine it in a way that serves you. Let it evolve. Valentine's Day can be about all forms of love: self-love, friendship, community, personal growth. What if today was simply a day to celebrate love in all its forms? Today, as in Valentine's Day. How will you spend this Valentine's Day? Claim that power of choice rather than letting the day spend you, if you will. So let's take a minute and talk about the power of being single and maybe the joy as well. Take this for a moment with me. Solitude can equal growth. Some of the greatest transformations happen when we are alone. Use this time to deepen your self-awareness and your personal power. Oprah Winfrey once said, "Alone time is when I distance myself from the voices of the world so that I can hear my own." Many of the strongest, most successful people embrace solitude before they found their path. So if this is a difficult time for you still, I recommend that you use the day for solitude. So I'm going to ask you to reflect. What is it you need right now, considering how you're feeling about this particular day as you try to redefine it and let it evolve for you? If you could rewrite the meaning of Valentine's Day for yourself, what would it be? And what would the day look like? Now, we can talk about some practical ways to feel good on Valentine's Day. Sometimes we kind of get stuck and can't really imagine what those might be. So let's share a few. Pamper yourself. It's an idea. We talked about some ideas last night in support group. Take yourself on a date, a movie, a spa, a favorite meal, a cozy night in. What would that look like for you? How would you define pampering yourself? Could be different for any one of us. Write a love letter to yourself. This is something I recommended to my group last night, and I sent them a link to an article that I wrote on your tango in 2020. So it's a little dated to that, but the sentiment's the same. Grab a journal and write a letter to yourself as if you were writing to a dear friend. What do you love about you? Create a love inventory. I saw this on someone else's blog. List out the ways you do have love in your life. Those things we were talking about. I love the idea of this, a love inventory. What do you already have that brings you joy? Whether it's friends, mentors, passions, what's already there, okay, that brings you joy? Do you have a favorite park that you go to that you spend time in, where you find clarity, where, is there an environmental thing that's around you? Is it your morning stop at Starbucks? That's one of mine. What is it? Find a way to make Valentine's fun. I know a lot of my single friends have Galentines or Palentines get-togethers, and instead of worrying about not having the date, if you will, even my married friends still have Galentine's lunches, get together for a potluck or a movie night out. Or love is meant to be shared in all its forms. Some of the support group participants last night were talking about, one of those little paint shops where you go paint and sip, I think it's called, that would be a fun night out to get a group together for. Acts of kindness, when you do something for others, wow, that's even better sometimes. So buying flowers and giving them to a stranger, taking them to a senior citizens center, or write a thank you note to someone who's made a difference in your life. Getting out there and trying something new. What a gift to yourself. Take a dance class. Go on a solo trip. Have you ever done that? Go to an art museum by yourself. Things that you've always thought you had to wait for a partner to do. Do it. That's someone in my support group says she's always waiting for a partner to do the things that she always wanted to do. New experiences create new energy, and you'll discover joy. And one last thing before our next break that I will highly recommend is take a break from social media, especially on Valentine's Day. Instead, be present in your own life. That is truly an act of self-love. All right, we're going to take a short break. Don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me for today's show. Listen, if Valentine's Day brings up heartbreak, and I know it will for many of you listening, I'm going to invite you to do some journaling. And I find the lesson is always in letting go, no matter what we're dealing with in life. And I was speaking to a client this week about letting go. So look, I'm going to ask you to journal this. What do I need to let go of today to help me with my heartbreak? What are you holding on to that is delaying your healing, perhaps? So ask yourself that. Sit with that. Be with that. See what comes up for you with that. What do I need to let go of today that might be delaying my healing from this heartbreak? And another journal prompt for you may be something like, how can I show myself more love? Not just on Valentine's Day, but in general. Valentine's Day can be a beautiful opportunity to release past pain. So write down what you need to let go of, and perhaps even ceremonially tear up the paper or safely burn it. If you have a ceremonial release of what you've written down, a truly letting go, that can be really lovely. We're going to do something like that at our retreat this week. Also, instead of dwelling on what's missing in your life, do list 5 things you love about your life right now. At least 5 things. Okay? Because when we focus on the negative, anything we focus on, anything that we magnify is bigger, right? So rather than putting the magnifying glass on what's missing, let's focus on and magnify what we love about our life right now. And it's there, even if it's seemingly hard to find. It's there. So look for it. Notice it. I want to give you some affirmations for self-love, and then we're going to bring a little humor into play. That may sound a little awkward, but I think you'll enjoy it. Here's some affirmations if you want to write them down. I am worthy of love, just as I am. I choose to celebrate love in all its forms. My happiness is not defined by my relationship status. So I'll say those again. I am worthy of love, just as I am. I choose to celebrate love in all its forms. My happiness is not defined by my relationship status. All right. I found a book on my shelf that someone gave me when I had gone through my divorce some point in the 90s, okay, in the late 90s. And I picked it up just prior to the show, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to share this with my listeners. It's called The Joy of Being Single. It's a very small book, but it's adorable. All right, so let me read you from this. It's by Aaliyah Zobel, and she begins it with, being single's gotten a bad rap. It's not awful. It's always interesting. And from my point of view, it has great benefits. A friend of mine who's getting married does not agree. She bet me her little black book I could not come up with 20 good reasons. I sure hope those guys like to cook. So I think her challenge was to come up with 20 good reasons. She came up with a few more, but I'm going to share some of my favorites with you. So the joy of being single. You don't have to be nice to anybody's mother but your own. You can vacuum whenever you want, or not at all. You don't have to make up excuses if you dent your car. You never have to watch Monday Night Football. Unless you're a Taylor Swift fan, maybe. You can cut your toenails in bed. Oh, that's gross. You can bring home Sara Lee cake for two and eat both portions. You can rip out anything you want from the newspaper. You can use all the hot water, and you never have to worry about taking the last clean towel, which you can leave in a wet clump by the tub when you're through with it. You can hang wet pantyhose or just cleaned car mats over the shower rod. You can take a 2-hour soak, and there's no problem if you forget to clean the tub. Best of all, there's never a wait for the bathroom. I would add, and the toilet seat's always down. Pantyhose, that does date the book, right? 90s. Let me see. Okay, this was published in 92. You can put cream on your face, petroleum jelly, and gloves on your hands and wear an old t-shirt to bed. You never have to tell anyone how your day was. You can go dancing until 3 a.m., no questions asked. You can eat cold pizza for breakfast, jelly beans, and a Coke for dinner. All right, that works. I'll skip that one. You can sit in a chair and read a novel cover to cover without feeling guilty. You can drink the last cold beer. No one will mind if you take a course in Mideast lentils. You won't annoy anyone if you whistle bird calls while you paint your nails. Sleeping is always bliss. You can snore all you want, hog the sheets, and take your cat or dog to bed if you want to. You can turn on the air conditioner for white noise, even if it's winter, and leave on all the lights when you get up in the middle of the night. Then, too, you won't offend anyone if you just fall asleep on the couch after dinner either. The money you save on anniversary gifts can be spent on sending your laundry out. If you get only one ticket to a music concert, you can go without feeling guilty. You can spend $150 on a haircut without fear of reprisals. In 1992, $150? Oh, New York. Okay. You'll never have to change and or hyphenate your name unless, of course, you want to. You know when you're out of milk. You can play the same record over and over and over again. You can keep everything where it's easiest for you to reach it, use it, pet it, eat it, look at it, and store it. You never have to pick out bridesmaids' dresses. When you get a box of candy, you can stick your fingers in all the pieces to see which one is best. You can make as much noise as you want when you eat, and you don't have to worry about anyone drinking your contact lenses when you leave them in a glass overnight. Dirty dishes, you can wash them immediately or leave them in the oven. You can pile them on the counters for days, weeks, until you run out. If you scorch a pot and can't get it clean, you can just toss it, no questions asked. Then again, you can just eat off paper plates and be done with it. Doesn't matter how you open the cereal box. You can have a video marathon on Saturday instead of cleaning. You don't have to worry about earning more money than anyone else. You can wear as much makeup as you want. You can date as many people as you can keep track of, and you never have to fight about turning down the electric blanket. You can decorate your apartment with posters of the Grateful Dead or paint the kitchen purple and pink without anyone making a fuss. And if you win the lottery, you don't have to share it. And I'll stop there. I think it's a good way to take a moment and recognize what joy is there for you in being single. Sometimes we actually romanticize our past relationships and we think they were wonderful when actually there were things that we did not enjoy about them. We were talking last night about losing our identity sometimes, not being our authentic selves in some relationships, feeling we couldn't be because of criticisms and or the fact that we withheld who we are, and that's on us, rather than showing up true to ourselves and allowing our partner to embrace the full version of us. And then if that was not in alignment and cohesive, then bowing out rather than staying committed. And those are things to be talked about and understood when we truly get in alignment with who we are and showing up in life true to ourselves. Then we can recognize when a relationship is good for us or not. All right. Let's talk a little more about Valentine's Day. Ultimately, it does not define you, right? It does not define you. It's your relationship status does not define you. You define you. You define you, and you define your happiness. So I want you to remember and think of love as an energy and not a relationship status. So today, focus on breathing love into your hearts and your souls, and know that you are loved. You are love and you are loved. And extend that to yourself. We're going to take our third and final break, and I'll come back with some final and closing thoughts on Valentine's Day when you're single.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Hello again. I really appreciate your being here today, and I hope that you have reframed Valentine's Day if you're single and recognize that whatever your past traditions were when you were in a romantic relationship, that you can evolve just like the history of Valentine's Day itself has. So, taking some time with and for yourself to recognize what might be best for you now. What does it need to look like? What does it need to involve? Is it something fun? Is it something in solitude? What's best for you is what matters. And whatever you choose, it becomes self love in action, created and chosen by you. And just to again remember, you do not need a person to complete you, no matter what the movies say. One day, that is someone is to complement your life. So if you can work on your healing and really becoming whole alone, it becomes a really beautiful thing then to share life with someone else. And that's really the romantic ending we're all looking for. So I'd love to hear from you and know what is your favorite self-love practice and how you may have decided to evolve Valentine's Day, and know that it can continue to evolve depending on where you're at in your journey. Message me and share your story, or post it on social media and tag me. I'd love to know. Now, next week, I'll be in San Salvador hosting the Soul CPR self-love retreat, and I look forward to sharing transformation stories from that experience with you when I return. I'll be looking through our repertoire and ask Dan to replay a previous show that was enlightening and empowering for listeners that you may have missed during our time slot next week. If there's anything that you'd like to suggest a topic that we cover on this show, please do send that along, because this show is for you, and I'll look forward to doing that. Now, as this episode comes to a close, remember that healing is not a linear journey. It is a process of profound transformation. And I'm always wishing that you find strength in your vulnerability and courage in your journey. If today's episode resonated with you, please do share the podcast with those who may need a lifeline of their own. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more hearts. Connect with me on social media. On Facebook, it's at Skyview Coaching, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X at Ann Papayotti. And I thank you for listening. And until next time, breathe deeply, love openly, and live soulfully, and make it a happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Good day. Oh, we have lost Dan. We're still in the air. Well, we can keep talking about writing those Valentine's Day love letters to yourself. Don't forget the thank you notes to people in your life. That's an act of love. When you express gratitude, it is an expression of love as well, for yourself and others. What else can we talk about? The triggers, the relationship triggers. Acknowledge your feelings, be with them, and then let them pass. Emotions should wash over us in about 90 seconds unless we hold on to them. So when you do what you need to let go of, perhaps you can think about that. Sometimes we hold on to feelings longer than we should. And what do you need to do if you realize you're holding on to those feelings? What action can you take? And sometimes, if you can't change your mind, change your body, change your physiology, get up and move. Get up and move your body, and that will help you shift your mindset. Dan, are you back? Okay. Well, I wish I had some questions coming in so I could just answer your questions live. You're welcome to call into the show, but the number's not up there. You can put them in comments and I can answer those as well. What else can we talk about? Do you agree? Do you feel like you've been sold this marketing thing about Valentine's Day? Do you feel like there's a societal pressure? Do you self-impose pressure about Valentine's Day? Is it something you're willing to relinquish? Or do you like the romantic idea of it? Is it something you want to reestablish? Yeah? All right. Well, let's take this opportunity to sign off once again. And we appreciate your listening always. And thank you for sharing the episode with others. You know where to find me. And until next week, breathe deeply, love openly, and live soulfully. Happy Valentine's Day. Make it that way.
This has been Soul CPR with host Ann Papayoti. Breathe life back into your spirit with each episode, where she and special guests explore the relationships that hurt us and discover that healing can only begin with you. Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.